Well, you know, the community has lots of other dimensions in the whole reviewing area, books and magazines and other kinds of tabloids. Let's talk a little bit about the kinds of publications and about some publications that exist that have to do with reviewing.
Sure. This is me, right?
This is you. Do you have anything you want to say about this?
I do. Well, listeners may be, viewers may be familiar with some of the better known publications that have traditionally done reviews, which would be Publishers Weekly or Kirkus or Library Journal.
But don't you think that those two are mostly insider publications?
Well, they are so often quoted on dust jackets that it would be surprising to me that people haven't at least heard of these. And certainly those are the publications that librarians around the country very often use in making the decisions for their acquisitions. Probably everybody knows the New York Times review of books. I read a lot of reviews that I love in the New Yorker. People magazine does reviews.
Entertainment Weekly.
Entertainment Weekly. So there are lots of traditional publications that include reviews. In the genre, there's a proliferation of actual publications that do reviews. Crime Spree, which is fairly new on the scene and has done a great job. Mystery Scene, Deadly Pleasures, Druid Review, which is one of the oldest out there. Mystery News, and on and on and on. And of course, now that we have the web, you're going to find just an enormous number of review sites out there. Reviewing the Evidence, Books and Bites, Mouthful of Bullets, which are familiar to you, because you review for all of those. We have a great website that's generated out of the Twin Cities, Armchair Interviews.
Wonderful site.
So that we are blessed with an embarrassment of riches when it comes to review publications in all of the media forms. My question to you guys is, who cares?
You know, I think people read reviews. I read reviews. I mean, if they're readers, and they're out there looking for what's new and what's coming, but I don't think they necessarily always remember if it was a good or bad review.
So just getting a review itself
I think it's helpful. Yeah.
I agree. I think that makes a big difference. You know that. We know from studies that have been done that word of mouth is the most.
It's the most effective.
But reviews come very highly on that list.
Yeah.
So
and you know what? They energize your press.
Good, bad, or
and they energize you if they're good.
Right. If they're good.
Yeah. So do you believe? That's the next question. Do you believe your reviews?
You mean my own review?
Yeah. Well, no.
I believe yours,
oh, okay.
but I don't know about mine.
I don't know. You know. If I behave the way I really believe an author ought to behave, I wouldn't even pay any attention to the reviews, but I'm human.
Why not?
Sure.
You know, you hear this a lot from people.
But what the point is that it's one person's opinion. Big deal. And it goes back to my question earlier in the show. What are their credentials for passing judgment? They're a reader. Big deal. You know?
Well, you don't know necessarily, but there are some reviewers, Stasio and some people like that, Larry Gandil, who reviews on the web, and a few other people who are.
If someone is a professional reviewer and has been doing it for years and comes at it with, you know, with a philosophy of reviewing and standards and that sort of thing, then I think it means a lot. I'm not sure that, you know, what's on Amazon.com means a lot.
Well, I think it does. I think let's.
Well, it shouldn't.
Well, that's a whole different question.
Okay.
I think if there is no review of your book on the web, on Amazon or on Barnes and Noble, I think that's significantly noticeable.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And I absolutely subscribe to the idea that any review is better than no review. The worst thing in this whole area is being ignored.
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't Hemingway punch out
probably
a reviewer who gave him a bad review? Have you ever felt like that?
I have felt like the reviewer had not read the book because they had so many things wrong about the book. But, you know, what are you going to do? I mean...
Well, what do you think?
Well, you can't do anything about what's there, and I think that we all agonize, I think most authors agonize over that way too much, over focusing on getting reviews and not, or sorry, I misspoke that. Focus on the content of the review rather than on getting reviews. Get the material out there, get a review, don't worry about it. Go on and think about the other kinds
Well, you know
of
what my
aspects of
editor
marketing.
says to me is, that was a so-so review, but we got a good quote. That's
That
what
we
they're
can
looking
use.
for. They're
Well,
looking
sure,
for a way to
sure.
sell the book.
Yeah.
See, and that ought to be a
Exactly.
caution to viewers when they pick up a dust jacket.
But people don't know that.
You can pull almost anything out of, particularly if you use ellipses, out of review and make it sound good.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you think that the proliferation of all of these venues for reviews, and they just seem to be multiplying
But
like
there are
crazy.
fewer and fewer newspapers that are doing reviews.
Yeah,
Well, they are
Marianne
cutting
said
back.
earlier.
Yeah,
Yes,
which
that's
I
true.
think is, those
Which
were
is
the
driving
legitimate
people,
reviews.
driving people to, well, blogs, for example. Sarah Weinemann's Idiosyncratic Mind, when
Yes.
she does reviews, for example.
Yeah.
Very well thought of, very much looked upon with approbation. So I think there are some places on the web, some electronic
sure.
reviews that people use a lot, and I think that's good. But I think yeah, on most of these venues, the review is like an ad in the magazine or the newspaper. It's just more stuff about your book out there. And the more times, we know from other studies that it takes like 6 times, 6 repeats before that title, let's say, gets into your head. And so if 5 of those are bad reviews, and the other one is an ad, then it works.
Perhaps we should say the names of our new books 5 or 6 times before we end.
Every program. No.
No. Okay.
But you know what? We have a list. And if you write to us at our address, you can get a list of these review sites that we think are good and that we think are worth talking about. Well, we've covered quite a bit of ground here. But you know what? We're through. But as I say, if you want more information, go to our website, www.minnesotacrimewave.org. There you'll find links to previous programs that you can learn about the books that we've written, and then you can read them and write your own reviews. And you can subscribe to our occasional newsletter. So we want to thank those of you who have been in touch with us. If you have comments or questions, we'd like to hear from you. You can email us at minnesotacrimewave@yahoo.com. So we'll see you next time. And as always, read more mysteries. Don't read reviews, read more mysteries. Thanks.